welcome to the Illinois Business Playbook. I am here with Kent Smith from, make sure I say this correctly, Byte Outfitters. Is that correct, Kent?
You got it. Byte Outfitters, yes.
Beautiful. I like it. And that's BYTE. So I think, spoiler alert, we're probably going to talk some computer functionality stuff that you got going on, which I love. So, or, you could have called another one Bites the Dust, but you probably would have talked to Queen and all that stuff. So I'm glad you did what you did. Kent, before we get started, I think it's really imperative just to kind of reference how we just saw each other a couple hours ago. Can you mention why you saw myself and my beautiful wife out there in the community?
We got some wings. We were at a grand opening for a new business here locally, the Wing Snob, and ran into each other there. It's a chamber event, and it's one of the benefits of the chamber, getting to bump into other business owners, local businesses, and at events like that.
Agreed, and it's really kind of cool to know you got your lunch taken care of as well. So
yeah,
I would recommend anyone in the Algonquin area. Wing Snob is certainly a really nice business that just opened up. If you're a fan of wings, I say kudos to those wings. They're pretty darn good. Well, Kent, as we're both letting the wings settle in our system here, tell us about your business and tell us about what inspired you to start it.
Sure. So Byte Outfitters, real quick, is I do website design. I'm a business of one. It got started when I had a corporate job in sales and marketing, working with clients during the .com boom of websites, and learned about websites and marketing on them at that time. Well, I started doing websites for friends and local community organizations, and the one that finally I decided, I could probably make a side gig out of this was when the village where I lived, I did the city's website for them. That was back when that was a new thing. Every city didn't have a website. So that was back in 2002. I decided, okay, I should put a name on this business. I picked Byte Outfitters because it was Byte being a digital unit of measurement, and Outfitters, I'm your guide. I'm your digital guide to help you succeed online is my goal as a business. I do websites for not just small businesses, some medium-sized businesses, but if you look at them, it's really companies that don't have the internal expertise or manpower to do it. They might have the expertise, but they're all too busy running their business and don't have an IT department or whatever. I like to say that what I do is web smithing done right. And by that, I mean, I don't just do exactly run off and do the first thing they ask me to do on the website, but have a discussion, understand their business, because I don't want them to just have a website. I want to be successful for them to help achieve whatever the purpose is for their business and be successful at that. So that requires me to understand their business, to help make sure the website fills that gap or that need that they have, and then deliver to that. So we do all sorts of websites, from small, simple ones to e-commerce sites, just a wide variety of website types.
What sort of challenges have you found by doing so? As a small business owner, there's obviously there's good things and bad things, and as you were kind of referencing earlier, you're kind of a one-man show here. So, what are some of the obstacles that you've been dealing with, and how have you been able to overcome those obstacles?
Yeah, I'll mention a couple of them. One from just a common thing, a lot of businesses, finding leads, being known locally. I came out of, when I made that leap over to being out on my own, full time, my previous career, I was traveling across the US. So I had lots of contacts throughout the US. That did help me in my starting out in websites. I got some clients that way, but I was not connected to my local community. And so that's one of the reasons why I first joined the local Chamber of Commerce, was just to find out who's around and just meet people I had no great expectations of how much business I was going to get, but just to become known, to know people, to find out what their needs were, and just get a little closer to it. So that was my first problem. And then once I got really kind of more traction going, the thing I ran into was people wanting me to do services that they saw they thought for sure I can do. You do websites, you must do social media marketing, you must do graphic design, can you install a network for our computers in our office and all these other things. And I tried to say yes to a lot of those, and too many, frankly, early on. And what I found, I hate to say no, right? Somebody trusts you, they want you to do something. It might even be something I can do, but it's not really my core business of what I was trying to do with Byte Outfitters. And the way I addressed that was I had developed kind of a network of what I call my fellow travelers, other people in the local market here who do either the same, they might be competitors or complementary services to me, and got to know those people. It may sound weird. I actually started a group that we get together for lunch once a month. There are other web developers. We are all competitors. There's about 5 or 6 of us. But the funny thing is we never bump into each other on business, and we will often actually refer business because, maybe somebody's not good in e-commerce websites or just choose not to do that. And they know that I do that. And so we can make that connection. Either I work for them, subcontract, or they refer them. But having that little network of fellow travelers has allowed me to, in a way, say yes more times than maybe I could otherwise, either referring them out or using a subcontractor with the full knowledge of my client, let them know that I'm bringing in a subcontractor for a portion of the work.
Let's lean on that for a second. So, one of the best ways to grow your business is to find your customer base, to retain your customer base, and to grow your customer base. So, what sort of strategies do you have in place? I know that you obviously mentioned, being a part of the chamber. That's been very successful for the businesses my wife and I are running as well, obviously. But what other ways or strategies do you have in place to grow that customer base?
So I found, in my industry, at least from talking to my peers and for myself, it's driven by referrals. This is not better Google ranking or print advertising or whatever. Other maybe more traditional marketing things don't really drive leads for me. It is people who know me and have referred somebody to me. So for that, I feel like I need to do 2 things. I need to make contacts, and I need to give those people an opportunity to get to know me. And so a couple things I've done. I'm a big believer that sharing your knowledge freely comes back in rewards. So I've done over the years a lot of public speaking. I develop all my websites on a platform called WordPress, and there are WordPress meetup groups. So there's local groups that get together each month. Well, they'll have members speak at that. And so I'll try once a year to get up and speak at one of those and share my knowledge. Maybe they don't know how to do a type of site that I've done or a particular feature. I'll tell you that every time I've done that, I've gotten at least one new piece of business by doing
That's
that,
awesome.
just by freely getting up for an hour and a half and talking in depth on a subject. So I'm a big fan of, share information freely. It shows your expertise. I do help clinics on WordPress where myself and maybe another developer will, for an hour and a half, be someplace and just say, come on in. We'll help you answer questions, fix a bug on your website. All that kind of stuff I think really helps. One, it's a good gesture to share with people, but also gives you a chance to show your expertise with people out there. So those are some of the things I do. I try to networking is really big for me. I'm not a big salesy type of person. I just try to put myself in a position where people can get to know me. Even better is if they can see me participate a little bit more formally. So maybe I'm on a committee with them, or I chair a committee with them, or we're both on a board for a nonprofit, or whatever it is. Just they get to see you, understand what type of a person you are. Because honestly, in what I do, web developers, there's a lot of us out there, and there's a lot of us that could have similar skills. So sometimes it's not the skills, though. Maybe it's, can I work with this person? And part of that's just getting to know their personality, how they work. Are they a very formal person, very casual? Do they see the world the way I do? And I feel like putting myself in positions, like I said, where they can see me working will help them understand if I'm the right fit for them or not.
I think that's so important. When we talk about work relationships, I think we really need to really hone in on the word relationship, because I think you're absolutely right. A lot of times people don't choose you based on what you can do for them, but how you relate to them, how you connect with them, how they know that you're supportive of them. You are in an industry that is ever evolving. I know this since my father, God rest his soul, used to work at Bell Labs back in the 70s. And I remember him telling me about this thing called email back in the late 70s. And I'm thinking, how in the world does he do? And anyways, to see where we were back then, to see where we are now, obviously, it continues to evolve. So how do you plan to adapt to those future trends in your industry?
You're right. I mean, there's a lot of, in web design, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things in digital technologies today. The big one is artificial intelligence, AI, Absolutely. That people are talking about. I've always felt, I go back and doing websites back to when you wrote code, that it was writing code. There weren't all these nice tools that we have today. And those tools, as they came along, some people viewed that as a threat. I think, they're just better tools. And as a web developer, I need to understand how to use them. And providing a service, where are the pain points? where do those tools fall short, or where does today you can go build a website yourself. There's services that cater to people to do it themselves. And I certainly don't intend to directly compete with those. If people are inclined, that's great. But those tools and platforms will have some shortcomings, or there may be features somebody's trying to implement it can't do, or it's too difficult, or it's not obvious, or whatever. That's where I feel like I need to be ready to embrace the new tools that come, to understand what they're good at and what they're not, and honestly look for those niches where I can add value beyond what those tools do. So AI, there are some tools coming out now where you can verbally talk to it and tell it to craft a website for you. And it'll do that. It's going to take a template and shove stuff in there. But, I come from a different perspective versus an AI tool. I want to understand your business and what you want that site to do. And I have a lot of experience doing websites, so I might be able to recommend, I see you're this type of business, and maybe a feature like this on your site would be something we should talk about and consider for the project. So again, I don't view them as really hurdles. It is just changing the landscape and understand where are those new pain points and how can I address those in my business and shift my business to better address those.
Ken, tell us about a moment of success you've had. Tell us about a good story here, whether it's a client or whether it's helping just a business in general. Like, what's something that, I'm sure you've got 100 stories, but let's save just one. But what's something that you can remember that's really to this day kind of stuck with you? Like, man, I'm really doing the right thing, and this really makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing.
You know what? I love when I get a fun project that's just not a plain vanilla project. That's the pleasure for me, is I like the solving the business problem part of it. So when I can do that, the other part is I want to delight the customer. I want to do not just exactly what they asked me, but could I go beyond? How could I exceed their expectations? And I have one client it's kind of funny. It's somebody I did meet through the chamber years ago. And it was a coaching professional a business coach type of situation, who wanted to sell her online course, her knowledge in a course online. And that's cool. I can do that. I've done those kinds of sites. But she not only wanted to do that, she wanted to enable other coaches to use her content with their clients. So let other people sell. So, okay, now it's a little bit more complex. And now those other coaches, well, they want to manage their own people. So now they have to figure out how to do that so all the coaches don't see all the other coaches' clients.
Sure.
And then the last thing that really made it kind of a tricky thing to implement was there's an international organization over this coaching segment that they're in. They're a little part of the industry. That organization wanted to sell the courses off their site as well. So now we're selling the courses on a completely different website, but yet delivering them on this platform. That was a lot of fun for me. It made it a little bit more challenging. It was an opportunity for me to bring in a couple of specialists who could help me out with that. So I loved it because I delivered a great solution, and the client was absolutely thrilled. Wrote the best review I could ever hope to get. Is someone who brings me business. She refers other coaches to me. We collaborate on projects together. And so it's benefited in a lot of ways. But I'm like, boy, if I could just delight every client like that with fun projects that I like to do, that would be what I'd want to replicate.
I love that. Ken, what's the best way to people reach out to you to learn more about what you're doing and how you can provide that support that's needed out there? Yeah,
if they visit byteoutfitters.com, so BYTE outfitters.com. They can contact me there. There's a form, my email address and phone number are out there publicly, so I get a lot of spam emails and telemarketing calls, but happy to talk to people. And I always tell people I answer questions for free. So if you're doing your own website, you got a little bug, you're a business owner, I want to help you, shoot me off an email. I'd be happy to give you my thoughts, my advice. Maybe I can help you out and point you in the right direction for a solution.
Ken, thank you so much for sitting down with us. Thanks so much. Again, it was so nice to see you, and we wish you nothing but the best. You have a wonderful day, okay?
Yep. Thanks for having me.
You got it.